Welcome to the Healthy and Wealthy and Wise podcast with global sales trainer and professional speaker, Lois Kofi. Each week, it is her goal to share inspiration and education for you to be, do, have the best health and wealth and wisdom for your life.
All right. Well, happy Friday, everyone who's watching and tuning into the live version of this podcast show. My name is Lois Kofi, owner of Lois Kofi Enterprises and founder of Healthy and Wealthy and Wise podcast. And if you've been following me for a while, you know that this month is my first ever themed month with my podcast. And it's a message near and dear to my heart. We kicked it off last week with Suicide Awareness Month. And really, it's all about mental health. And what a lot of us have been going through this year has been a lot of stress. And the suicide rate is up, depression is up. And how do people find the right tools to get them to where they need to go? Which for me, and I know my guest today, that's really, having hope and becoming their highest and best version of themselves. So please, if you're watching live, feel free to chime in and say #live where you're tuning in from. And also, please hit the share button, share this message, start a watch party on Facebook, whatever you can do. And if you're listening to the recording, also please share this with other people, because I'm going to have a lot of interviews this month, more than I ever have before since my launch, because we really want to get this message out about awareness. And so I'm going to go ahead and introduce my friend. And Marc, I think we just talked, we've known each other for 3 years now, and I was so touched by what you do, who you are, how you help. You are the executive director of the Beautiful Mind Project. I love the movie, so that name just resonated with me right away. And you recently launched the first ever of its kind in the nation, an urgent care for mental health, which just warms my heart and gets me really excited to have you share your story. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you and let you share your story, your why, and how you came to found this amazing project.
Thank you, Lois. My story begins 18 years ago when a 4-year-old girl saved my life. You see, I had written a suicide note, and I left it on the kitchen counter for my now ex-wife. And I took a knife out of the butcher block and my keys to my truck, and I drove to a desolate parking lot. And I had planned to take my life there. And as I was kind of mentally preparing myself in those final moments, flashes and images and thoughts of my 4-year-old daughter came crashing into my mind. And I began to think about what her life would be like without me in it, and the impact of what I was going to do and how it would change her life forever. And for some reason, I was able to find and summon the courage to put the knife back down and go back home. But it would take another 2 years before I would be properly diagnosed with bipolar disorder. It would take another 10 years, though, before I would share that. You didn't live in my house. You didn't know that I had bipolar disorder. I had been on medication and gotten therapy and was, by all accounts, normal. And I just never shared it with anybody because I didn't want anybody to treat me differently. I didn't want it to affect my career. I just didn't want to have everybody talk or think differently about me or my mental health, and so I didn't share that. Then what happened was 5 years ago I was diagnosed with diabetes, and the next day I shared that on Facebook. And I wanted to get ideas about medicine and exercise and diet and nutrition and recipes, and I got just overwhelming support. I mean, it was absolutely incredible, and it got me thinking, why did I share one diagnosis after 24 hours, but it had been more than a decade, and I hadn't shared the other? When, if you think about them, at their core, they're really the same thing. They're both chemical imbalances in the body that require medication for it to operate and function properly. They just affect different parts of your body. But as a society, we don't treat that the same way. And that really got the wheels kind of spinning for me. Fast forward a couple more months, and it was back to school time. It was about this time of the year, maybe a little earlier, but it was back to school time, and I've got 2 daughters now. And, you're having that, the kids are anxious about going back to school, and they're nervous about who their classmates are going to be. And, having that back to school pep talk about, it's going to be all right, you're going to do great. And you know what? I would always tell my girls, just be yourself. Because the minute you're not yourself and you start living your life for somebody else, it's no longer your life. And Lois, I got to tell you, I felt like a giant hypocrite because I wasn't doing that myself. I was not modeling the behavior I was encouraging my daughters to do for themselves. And I decided that wasn't good enough and I needed to do something about it. And so a couple of weeks after that, I stepped up, and on September 3rd, 2015, I, for lack of a better turn of phrase, came out about my mental health status. I shared my story, and it was both singularly the scariest thing I've ever done, but also the most liberating thing I've ever done. I finally felt like this huge weight was off of me, and I have to tell you, I have not lost one friend over this. It didn't affect my career in any way, shape, or form. And in fact, my circle of friends and people who I'm involved with has grown by leaps and bounds because they too were secretly keeping quiet about their mental health status and were relieved that somebody was willing to step out front and say, it's all right, we can do this. And so that's how the Beautiful Mind Project got started.
Wow, there was a lot in there to unpack. First of all, I want to say thank you. Proud of you, because I can somewhat imagine. I've had my own journey with mental health. I had suicidal thoughts. I didn't go to the level that you did, and I'm so grateful that you went on that journey and you stayed here with us so that you can help other people. I guess one question that I'd like to ask, and I think we talked before we got on here about the stigma, yeah, and why are people so afraid to talk about it? Did you, and I'm not a therapist, but have you, I analyze myself all the time about, why don't I share certain things? Is it fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of rejection? Did you ever figure out for you why it took you so long to come out of the closet?
I think for me, it was just not wanting to feel rejected over something I have no control over. And I just wanted, I liked my career. I liked my friends. I didn't want anything to change. And I was kind of afraid of that that's somehow going to make things weird, that, oh, well, I don't really want to invite Mark to this because, the whole, he's crazy kind of thing, and part of that really comes down to a lot of folks are afraid of what they don't know or afraid of what they don't understand. And so a huge part of what we do and what I do is educating people about what mental health is, the difference between mental health and mental illness, because we use those terms so interchangeably, but they're not the same thing. As long as we've got this forum, I will share what that difference is, because I think it's really important. Everybody has mental health. Not everybody has a mental illness. So think of it in these terms. Think of your physical health. We all have physical health, but not everybody has diabetes or not everybody has high blood pressure, right? That's a physical illness. And you might have worked out in the yard all weekend and you wake up the next day and you're feeling kind of slow and sore and a little rough, right? It doesn't mean you have an illness. It just means your physical health is on a spectrum and you're feeling a little tougher that day. That's what's true for mental health as well. So you don't have to have a mental illness to have a tough day or a tough series of days or even weeks, where you're just kind of struggling for whatever reason. It doesn't mean you have a mental illness per se. So mental health is also on a spectrum. A mental illness is a diagnosable disorder that can often be treated through talk therapy or medication or any number of other possibilities that exist out there. So that's the difference. Is people need to try to put the mental health picture and relate it back to their physical health and what that looks like.
Oh my gosh. And I can so relate to that because of my journey. And I grew up with a schizophrenic mom. I think I shared with you, and my whole life that was scary. Like I was ashamed of it. I hid it under the rug. We don't talk about that here. And it was traumatic for me. And I wish we would have had someone like you also to kind of like support and encourage, because I know that's something that the Beautiful Mind Project does, right? Also kind of brings the family together. Can you tell more about how that project supports the community?
Yes, we do multiple things in our community. And the biggest thing, the core of what we are when we started was to do educational presentations, sit on panels, and we've done just this last fall, about almost a year ago now, we did a series called 30 Stories in 30 Days, where we had our followers share their story, and we shared that on our website and on social media platforms and whatnot. Again, to help folks understand that you're not alone. You're not the only person. There's a lot of folks out there that are going through the same exact stuff that you are. And that's another reason why a lot of people don't share, is they feel like they're the only ones who are feeling that way. And that can be kind of a scary thing to feel. So we do a lot of education. We also give away a college scholarship every year. We just gave away our 4th scholarship. We had our awards banquet last night and gave our scholarship away last night to a lovely young lady who's going to study English as her major at St. Ben's here in St. Joseph, Minnesota. And so we've given away 4 scholarships because we feel like investing in today's youth is a wise investment, because in 5 years, in 10 years, those are the people that are going to be the change makers. They're going to be the influencers in society. They're going to really make those big changes. And that segment of our population obviously is traditionally deeply affected by mental health issues, the high school teen years. And they're also more open to talk about it, believe it or not. So they're okay with sharing more of themselves today than ever before. And that's a great.
That is amazing. That is brilliant, because there's even teens too that struggle with depression. And, I've had several friends who committed suicide, and one of my, they were all very, very sad and devastating, but one was the 19-year-old. And I just think, wow, how could we have helped, that younger generation, too. So I'm so proud of you. That's amazing that you're reaching out in that community. I know we have a lot to talk about. Anything else that you do that sets you apart? Because there's such a stigma, and I know mental health therapy and all these different tools. Like I went a lot of the holistic path to help me, because I was so scared of pharmaceuticals because of my mom's experience. Keep that in mind. But what else do you do? What other services do you provide with Beautiful Mind, or do you want to talk about Project Urgent Care?
Well, kind of, talking, I wanted to go back just briefly to what you were talking about with the youth and trying to connect with those folks. One of the programs that we're developing right now, and we're close to rolling out maybe in the next 6 to 9 months, is something that we call the Beacon Assessment. And what we want to do is we want to give every kid in grades 5 through 12 a mental health assessment at the beginning of the school year and again in the middle of the school year. And this way we can kind of identify which kids are at risk, identify any patterns that develop throughout the school year, so that the districts can use that to help deliver a better system and product, and make for a better educational experience for everybody. We actually have 1 or 2 school districts who are on board with us to do some pilot testing of the program, and we're really excited about it. So we're coming up. So again, I'm a big believer in swimming upstream, and we talk about prevention. and we talk about all of these types of things. And the best way to prevent something is to go up and ahead of where the problem originates from and catch it early before it becomes a crisis, right? And that's really part of what the second thing I was going to mention is our urgent care for mental health program. That's really born out of my own personal experience. Actually, both the Beacon assessment and this urgent care program were born out of personal experience, and I'll tell you why in a moment. But the urgent care program, I get frustrated that every time you need to make an appointment, you might have to wait 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks to get in. And it just, you can imagine what happens to that momentum when, with somebody, if they finally reach that point where they're like, okay, all right, I'll go. I know I need some help. I'll go. And you've been working on your friend for a month and they finally commit to going. And next thing you know, oh, they can't see you for 6 weeks. What do you think happens in that 6 week window? They lose all steam. Hey, I'm feeling better now. That was just a momentary thing. Well, no, the problem's still there. You maybe just put it back in its box for a little while, but it's still there, right? So the idea was to completely rethink the way we treat mental health. And the best way for me to describe the urgent care program that we have is we are the Uber of mental health. Now, if you think about Uber, they don't actually provide any rides for anybody. They don't have one vehicle that they own. They match people who need a ride with people who can provide a ride. And they do all of the marketing and they own the platform and all that stuff. And that's what we've done. We match people who need help right away, who are in a state of crisis, not suicidal, but it's urgent, right? Need an appointment. And we matched them with providers who have appointments available. In my community here in central Minnesota, if you call around, you might find that 3 to 5 week window to get an appointment. But I know from experience in talking boots on the ground with providers, there's somewhere between 100 and 150 appointments a week that go to waste. And the reason why is if you think about how we shop for mental health. So you're struggling, what do? You Google therapists in my town, and it pulls up all the big boys. And so what do people do? They call all the big boys, right? Because if you're struggling, you're not going to be shopping around like you're buying a new car. I'm going to call one, maybe two, and that's it.
Yep.
And so what happens is the other 150 therapists in your community who can help you never get a phone call. And they're the ones who have the openings. And so we typically target those smaller providers where it's a solo provider up to 8 to 10 therapists in an office. And we basically say, look, for a monthly subscription fee, you give us your open appointments that you're not using, and we will market and provide referrals for you. And that's how the program works. The therapists are able to treat how they want to treat. They take whatever insurance they want to take. They charge what they want to charge. They do themselves. They're their own business. We don't tell them how to do any of that. And that's how the program works. So it's just a unique model that we're using that is not anywhere else, and it's something we're really, really excited about.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I can sense your excitement, and it's projecturgentcare.com, right?
Yes. Yep. And that's projecturgentcare.com. You can actually request an appointment online 24 hours a day. We also have added a 24/7 appointment request via phone as well. And so basically, if you went to projecturgentcare.com, it would take you literally less than 30 seconds. It's your first name, your phone number, what kind of insurance you have, and the location you want. We do offer teletherapy. We can do teletherapy anywhere in the country. So if somebody needs that, they can be in Texas or sunny San Diego, and they call and request an appointment. Provider calls them within 4 hours and schedules an appointment within 24 hours. And that's how it works.
Amazing. I'm so glad you said the telehealth thing, because I was curious if you were planning on expanding outside of Minnesota, but since you have the telehealth, do you think you'll establish?
Oh, outside? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if there's anybody listening to this, I don't care what state you're in. If you know of a therapist, I would love a warm introduction. just add Mark at projecturgentcare.com. Send me that email with a warm introduction. I would love to talk to him about it because we can add therapists anywhere in the country. And we want to grow quite rapidly. We're expecting to grow quite rapidly. With our first year projections, we're expecting to have more than 50 therapists, not therapists, but 50 locations on board within the first year. So we're really excited about the growth opportunities.
And you said, just so everyone knows, because if they're not seeing this on the screen and you're hearing the audio on iTunes later, that's Marc, M-A-R-C, right?
That's right. Marc with a C.
Yep, at projecturgentcare.com. I'll put that in the show notes as well. And just because I also love holistic medicine, would you receive any referrals to like acupuncturists or naturopaths or anything like that, depending on, I guess, whether or not they take insurance?
Right now, I mean, it's one of those things where we haven't focused on that as a option for our urgent care clients. I envision that to be something that the individual therapist would perhaps refer out to as a, like, hey, look, we've talked, we've gotten whatever the issue was that was, that exacerbated the contact, the call or the email. We've handled that. We've addressed that. You're safe. Here's some other ways you can help manage that with some tools in your toolbox, like acupuncture or yoga or what have you, so that would come more on the therapist side of the ledger than what our focus is. But yeah, there's definitely, and I'm one of those who I don't believe that there's any one right way to treat mental health. I mean, I think everybody's different. Everybody's bodies and minds respond differently. Some people, like myself, I have a chemical imbalance in my brain and I need medication. It wouldn't matter how much I did of anything else. It wouldn't matter. I need to have the drugs in my head to function properly. And some people, their bodies aren't built that way. And so it just varies.
Right on. Yeah, I'm always a believer in there's not one version of truth. There's many versions, and you have to also, in my own experience, because I had to fight like hell to find those versions, never giving up. I had a friend this week, and of course I'm not going to say anything about this person, but they called me because I had a feeling, and I called them, and turns out that they had attempted suicide, and so they were in a clinic to get help. What could I say to someone like that, or how do you see helping people like that in the here and now or in the future? Because like you said earlier, what you were talking about is getting them early. Yeah. Prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? That's the old saying. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Do you have any advice for people, especially because of 2020 has been a nightmare for a lot of people, right? The suicide rate is up, all the things I said earlier. What is your answer to someone in that situation?
For me, I think that the answer is simple and straightforward. You just let them know that you care. You let them know that you're there for them. You don't need to try to solve their problem. There's going to be plenty of folks who are far more capable of that than you are. And to keep in mind that as a friend, you have a responsibility to reach out. So often I'll see online like, oh, hey, it's, if you're feeling depressed or whatever, reach out. Well, you don't have any idea how difficult it is to reach out and ask for help when you're in that state of mind. I mean, hell, it's hard enough to want to take a shower and get dressed. And now you want me to go and humble myself and ask for help? That's a really hard thing to do. So just be aware of those friends that, I haven't seen, Susie online very often lately, or she's just seemed a little bit different, just to check in, hey, I haven't been seeing you around much lately. Just wanted to see how you're doing. Is there anything I can do to help you? I'm here. I'll listen. That's all. Just knowing that somebody cares can make a ton of difference in the big picture.
Yeah, I have a saying, when in doubt, reach out, which is why I had that feeling, right? So I called my friend, and I had no idea, not consciously, that I happened to catch them at a time where they were literally, in that dark space. What is your vision for your future? Like, where do you see Project Urgent Care or Beautiful Mind Project 5 to 10 to 20 years from now? I always love asking that question.
Yeah, for urgent care for mental health, in 5 years, I would expect us to have somewhere in the neighborhood of 300, 400 locations across multiple states. Part of the advantage of our system is that we're able to bring mental health care, access to mental health care to small communities. So you don't need to live in a big metro area to get that urgent care opportunity. Like in Minnesota, for example, there's 3 other urgent cares in Minnesota for mental health. They don't call themselves the same name, but they all offer that kind of that more immediate appointment. But they're all brick and mortar buildings, one location, all in the metro. Well, that's great if you happen to live within 15 miles of that location, right?
Yeah, right.
So how can we get to that small town, USA with a town with 30,000 people in, And so that this is a formula to do that. So we're looking at having hundreds of locations with that. As far as the Beautiful Mind Project goes, it's funny that you mentioned that because I said 2 things last night at our awards banquet as we were kind of laying out the vision of the future. One is the Beacon assessment that we want to do. Another one is we want to actually institute a Mental Health Care Reform Act in Minnesota, where we are going to work on changing the way insurance companies credential providers. They throttle how many providers there are in a marketplace, which again restricts access. They limit and dictate ridiculously low payouts to providers. When you compare what a provider earns for an appointment versus a comparable physical doctor earns for a comparable appointment, they're not even close. So it's everything from, there's a lot more to it, and that is like a whole show in and of itself, but that's something we want to work on. But the thing that I said was 5 years ago when I launched the Beautiful Mind Project, none of this was even on the board. I mean, I just wanted to have a part-time hobby to pursue my passion about mental health and share my story. And next thing you know, we're giving away college scholarships and we're having fundraising events and we start an urgent care program. I mean, so in 5 years, I don't know. I mean, who knows what opportunities will present themselves. I'm open to anything. So, but the one thing that I do know is that everything's going to come back to our core why, my core why, which is I believe every person deserves the opportunity to be the best version of themselves possible. And that's what we try to do with everything that we do.
That's perfect. Our visions are like-minded. I'll probably have you on here every September so people can follow you and see your amazing, amazing growth and success stories. And can people donate money to the Beautiful Mind Project?
Please. Yes, absolutely. Just like every other nonprofit, COVID has kind of sucker punched us with our fundraising efforts. We weren't able to do a couple of the different fundraisers that we do. We're having a new our first fundraiser this year. Actually, we're doing it virtually. It's online. It's a unique thing. It's called Comedy from the Community, and everybody will have the opportunity to submit 2 minutes of their best material. And then people will vote on those, and we'll raise money based on people that are voting and things of that nature there. So, absolutely.
So can they donate? Can they find out about that event and donate?
Write us a check or donate on our website. There's a way they could do that as well. Yep.
And I know you have a free gift. I think tell them, I already shared with them how they can find you. We've given your websites, guys. It's in the show notes. You can email Marc at projecturgentcare.com. But how can those, I think, was it 3 lucky winners get those t-shirts that you're giving away today?
I don't know. How do you want to do it? I've never given away anything on a podcast before, Lois. What's the best way to do this?
Yeah, I think the best way, guys, is just the first 3 people that email Marc at projecturgentcare.com. That way you have a timestamp and whether, do you have a deadline, like in the next week? No? Okay.
Whatever. No.
Awesome.
Good.
Awesome. And describe this shirt, because I saw a visual and I think it's adorable.
Yes, it is a lime green shirt and it's got a handprint on it, which is, by the way, my handprint. And it says stand up to stigma on the handprint. And so that's one of the things that we will continue to fight and probably eternally fight, is the stigma attached to mental health and how it's portrayed in the media, in the news, etc.
Amen. Awesome. Well, I'm so proud of you. I'm so honored to have you here, guys. If you have the opportunity, you can also find Marc inside of my Healthy and Wealthy and Wise Facebook community, where we're building a community of people like Marc, people who are real, people who are authentic, people who want the best for your health or your wealth or your wisdom. And I consider mental health also in that wisdom capacity, because you got to know better to do better. And his education experience, his passion for this is why I wanted to have him on here today. So you guys can tune in. His information will be shared on iTunes for posterity. Please share with us with people that are hurting. And I want to close it out with, Marc, my favorite question I ask every single guest, because the title Healthy and Wealthy and Wise has a lot, actually, because of my own health journey with depression and overcoming that. That's actually where the whole theme of this show kind of got rooted. But I want to hear what you think of when you hear that phrase, healthy, wealthy, and wise.
I take it, I think, a little different than maybe most people do. I think the natural inclination would be to go to my physical health, my financial health, and learning from experience type thing. And for me, I take it more from the perspective of, to me, it means it's about relationships. Healthy relationships make me wealthy, and they make me wise. And it's the people in our lives that really matter the most, not necessarily the material possessions. Those are decorations for us. So one thing before we close is I did want to tell you how the story ends. I started the story at the top of the show, but I want to tell you how the story ends.
Please.
That story of that 4-year-old girl that saved my life. She's now 22, and I got to watch her grow up. I brought her to her first job and was there for her when a boy broke her heart, and saw her graduate from high school and go on to nursing school. And she now is a charge nurse at in the surgical center at the Mayo Clinic here in Minnesota, where she is continuing to save lives today. And she's engaged and is going to get married soon, and I'm going to be happy as hell to walk her down the aisle. So that's how that story ends. I
love it. Well, and it hasn't ended yet. It keeps going because
yes.
and the knowing that it's like a ripple effect, right? That they call that the butterfly effect, because you're here still, you chose to live. You're helping others who can now walk their daughters down the aisle, or sons, or whatever they are going through. They can grow and leave a legacy. And that's what you're doing. And I'm so proud of you for that.
Thank you, my friend.
Cool. Well, thank you guys again. I know this is kind of a heavy topic this month, and it's necessary because we know that every day people take their own lives, and we need the tools. We want to share those tools with you. So please reach out to Marc, get connected, plug in. And for next week, we're actually going to take a turn towards nutrition. I have actually Melissa Costello. She's the owner of Karma Chow. She actually is a chef to Tony Horton, the P90X Tony Horton. So if you know who that is, and she's going to talk about her own struggle and journeys with mental health and nutrition, and how she became so passionate about helping with the food as your medicine. So please tune in, same time, same channel next week, and bring your friends. We appreciate you. Until next time, here's to your best health, mental, physical, and otherwise, your best wealth and your best wisdom. Take care, guys. Be well. Be kind to another.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe, refer a friend, and please drop me a rating or a review. If you do that, I'll reward you with a free 20-minute free coaching session on crafting your journey to your best self. Reach out to me at lois@loiscoffee.com to claim your 20-minute slot. Until next time, be healthy, wealthy, and wise.